Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Can we get serious now?
One thing that did happen during the 60s was some music of an unusual or experimental nature did get recorded and did get released. Now look at who the executives were in those companies at those times. Not hip young guys. These were cigar-chomping old guys who looked at the product that came and said, I don't know. Who knows what it is? Record it, stick it out. If it sells, all right. We were better off with those guys than we are now with the supposedly hip young executives who are making the decisions of what people should see and hear in the marketplace.
Success in the music business begins with a dream, a vision. This podcast will give you, the listener, the insight and tools to turn that vision into a reality. Meet the industry professionals who work day by day behind the scenes, helping to make those dreams come true. Welcome to the business side of music.
Sitting across the console from us today, Sarah Beth Perry, who is the founder and CEO of With the Band. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
After winning your first pitch competition in 2017, you saw the opportunity to further pursue your dream of kickstarting With the Band, which we're going to talk about today. Also, throughout college, you continued to win awards and grant money for multiple pitch competitions from such organizations as Belmont University, Sigma Nu Tau. I tried that earlier and got it right, so hopefully I did this time too. LaunchTN, and you were a finalist for both the AARP's Innovation Labs Pitch competition. That in itself was a mouthful. And the Global Student EntrepreneurAwards. You were also named Belmont University's top 100 alumni entrepreneurs. All that being said, let's talk about With the Band. Where did that concept come from? How did this visualize?
I actually grew up in Nashville around a lot of my friends' parents who were in the music industry. So I always kind of knew I wanted to do something within music. I didn't know exactly what. But then as I got older, my younger sister and I became huge music fans, going to like the typical boy band concerts all the time. And I remember seeing these groups of fans kind of like congregating together at different shows or like outside of venues and being like, oh, that's so cool that they put on these like fan projects and fan meetups together. You know, I wonder how like fans get involved with that. And then kind of my other like music business side of me was, well, like, why aren't the artists more involved in this? It kind of just seemed like a missed opportunity for me. So that kind of all happened in like high school, didn't really think much about it, went to Belmont, double majored in music business and entrepreneurship. And when I was there in my very first like survey of music business class, your mind is open to all these different jobs you had no idea existed in the music industry. And I really realized like, oh my gosh, fan engagement is someone's job. So then I started researching because I thought that there was a company out there that was doing this thing that I wanted to do. So I was like, I want to work for this company, and then couldn't find anything. So for a year, I just researched because I was like, this has to exist out there. I can't believe it doesn't.
Let's describe, or maybe I should say, let's have you define fan engagement a little bit, because anybody and everybody that loves music is a fan.
Yeah.
And they go to the shows and they support the artist. But where do these boundaries set, or are there boundaries? What really defines the fan engagement that you're talking about?
I think there's kind of like two pieces to it. So there's the fan to fan aspect and then also the fan to artist aspect. So we all kind of know that artists try to communicate with their fans, whether that is through VIP access or through social media. But we've seen that the more engaged an artist is with their fans, the bigger super fans that they can create, and then therefore the more revenue they can generate. So that's kind of the artist portion of it. And then there's this whole fan side that is what I feel like has not been tapped very well. And it's this fan-to-fan interaction of I'm having a group chat with all my Jonas Brothers fans and being like, oh my gosh, did you see that this came out? And kind of this power that hasn't been tapped among fans promoting their favorite artist music. And that's really what we're trying to dive deeper into.
Do you think the artists could do better at engaging with their fans? Some, I think, do a great job, but I know many, and I've worked with some that in the past didn't understand the meet and greet, didn't understand, corresponding with the fans. Is that something that you can help the artists do, or are you primarily focusing on the fan?
So we're focusing on both. So one of our big aspects is we do believe that we can help artists create this almost like rabid fan base, and really help them understand how to use their fan base to benefit them even further.
And you've only been doing this now for what, a few years?
Yeah. So we officially started in 2017 when I won my first pitch competition. And until August of this past year, I was the only one full-time working on it.
Let's talk about the pitch competition for a minute. What was that all about?
Crazy enough, I had not told anyone my idea until I did my very first pitch competition. And
was this at the university?
Yeah, so the first one I did was at Belmont. It was the Belmont University pitch competition. You have to apply and send in a whole business plan. I think it was 15 pages. I had no idea I would get accepted. And I think it was 8 other contestants who pitched. Had literally no idea that I was going to end up winning first place for that. And I was like, okay, maybe people actually think this is a good idea.
Was it based on this design, this model?
Yes, so it was. It was very much the whole fan engagement aspect of it. There were definitely some little things of automatically putting in social feeds in there that we are not doing right now. I feel with entrepreneurs, especially when you first have the idea, was one of my favorite advisors says is don't boil the ocean. So don't focus on everything. You kind of have to get a smaller body of water to really focus on. And that's what we did.
I love that analogy. Don't boil the ocean. That's good. I may borrow that. When you first started to put this together 3 years ago in 2017, did it have a different outlook than it does now? Or have you pretty much stayed the course? Have you built upon it? Walk us through those motions.
Yeah, it has definitely evolved from that very first moment. Just even 3 years ago, pre-COVID, it was very much, we wanted basically a digital tool to help kind of the younger generation connect virtually, but then connect in person. Because we see there is such a disconnect of this social isolation that Gen Zers are feeling, and just they're statistically a more depressed generation, and how can we actually help them have in-person friendships? And so that's really what we set out to create. And then from there, we created an app that allowed fans and artists to create and participate in these fan projects and fan meetups. So really trying to get one centralized location for all of this. And so that was going great. And then we ended up partnering with artists. We did a really big fan activation at the Jonas Brothers show this past fall. And then that led to one with Kacey Musgraves. And we were just prepared to continue doing shows like that over the spring and summer. And then, of course, COVID happened. So all the shows that we had planned got either canceled or rescheduled. And I honestly had a lot of music industry professionals at labels or managers reaching out, just being like, what do? We have no idea even really where to start. Because everyone, that was when there was 8,000 live streams a day, every second of the day. And so we really went to the ground running on research and seeing what else was out there. I'd kind of always had this idea that I wanted to build out the platform to allow artists to host their new version of a fan club. And this is really when we started the research to figure out what that looked like. And so we've been building that out all summer. So we're planning to launch that in about a month. And what it will be is it's an app and a web-based platform, and it will allow artists to create and host their own fan crews. So it actually sets them up to be able to set up a subscription model for their fans to access anything from exclusive content to private live streams. And there's so many more things. The artist kind of has an unlimited ability to create within the platform.
Let's go back here for a second. When we talk about COVID-19, because that has devastated this industry with all the venues shutting down and the clubs and the festivals and the special events, has that changed the direction of With the Band? Or has it given you more ammunition? How has this affected you with your model, with your business?
Yeah, I kind of think all the above. It was very much a roller coaster of at first being okay, well, maybe this will be a shutdown for 4 weeks, 6 weeks. And then, it just kind of kept extending. And that was when we really realized if we ever wanted to build kind of this virtual tool that we had in mind, this is going to be the best possible opportunity to do that. So it really did, I want to say it kind of sped up our model a little bit. I was not expecting to build out this whole side of the company until at least a year from now.
And that's something else I was going to ask you, because when we all entered right about March 15th, not knowing any of this and really trying to determine shortly after that how long this was going to last. And now we still have no idea. This could run for another year or two before not so much the pandemic, but the industry getting back on its feet.
Totally.
Running full force. Do you see yourself continuing to transition to make additional changes, or do you think you're pretty much on the course now? Or I know it's kind of an open-ended question, but once again, we're all trying to figure out what's going on and where we're going and what we're doing and how we're doing it. Do you think you're kind of on the path you need to be now, or do you think there's going to be a hit from the right side or the left side that you're going to have to course correct, or do you know?
I honestly think that we have a pretty good track in mind. I feel like we really are on the right channel now. We want to create this digital platform that will eventually have in-person experiences attached to it. So there will definitely be expansion kind of the course we are on, but I feel very positive and encouraged about the direction we're going with really trying to make this digital focus, because artists right now, it's, now that they've realized at first they were all pushing back album dates, and now they've realized, if it's going to be a year longer, they can't continue. They're going to have to do something to stay relevant.
Right.
And this is going to help them do that.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big questions now is how much longer can we as an industry keep putting things off or pushing? I just read the other day where the new James Bond movie has been pushed back till April of 2021, and Regal Cinema Theaters, one of the largest movie chains, said, well, we're done. That's it. Because that was the tent pole that we were relying on. Well, I think the music business is the same way. We're all looking for those big hits. We're looking for those big releases. We're looking for those big tours. But what you're describing is you can keep marching forward, though. Yeah.
We really think that, there are these artists who will hopefully soon put out the Pushback album. But then there's also these artists, like one specifically that comes to mind is Love. And he released this incredible album, I believe it was at the beginning of March. Such a great album. I really feel like this was going to be his huge career launch. And then he just got cut by COVID. He was, I think the last thing he did was perform on Jimmy Fallon, and then the whole world tour got canceled. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, and it just feels like there was this, I don't want to say lost opportunity, but there was definitely this hit that even artists who put out albums right before were getting. And we really just see this as an opportunity to help them create a more reliable income stream. Even though we all thought touring was reliable, this is really giving them something. So in a year from now, if there are not arena shows, this is some form of income for them.
We're going to take a break, get a word in for one of our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to have some more conversation with Sarah Beth Perry, who's the founder and CEO of With the Band.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Hi, everyone. I'm Larry Butler, and I want to send you a free digital copy of my new book, The Singer-Songwriter Rulebook, 101 Ways to Help You Improve Your Chances of Success. That's right. Everything you need to know to launch your career as a singer-songwriter, all based on my 40 years in the live performance arena, and believe me, I've seen it all. In my book, you'll find the 10 things you have to deal with before even thinking about becoming a singer-songwriter performer. You'll also learn about the 5 things every singer-songwriter can do this weekend to make their live show better. 5 things I can guarantee that you are not doing already. Plus, there's tips on songwriting and staging, photo and video shoots, publishing, merch, dozens of other topics. All written for people who don't particularly like to read. And again, it's free. Just go to the Business Side of Music website homepage and look for my book cover. Click on it, and a free digital copy of my book will be yours. I'm Larry Butler, and I approve of this message.
You're listening to the Business Side of Music.
Back in the studio here in Nashville, Tennessee. It's nice for someone to come to the studio, so thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
We do so many of these over Skype or over the phone, and it's just kind of nice to have that personal connection. Sitting across the console from us, Sarah Beth Perry, who is the founder and CEO of With the Band. So you've thrown out some big name acts. You named Kacey Musgraves, the Jonas Brothers. Is this designed for the smaller act, the startup act? At what level, where does this come in? Do they need to have a certain amount of fan base, or does this help them create and build that fan base?
Yeah, so where we really see our company fitting in is we feel like there are a lot of incredible membership tools out there. So like Patreon and Memberful, and they are really helping support these like indie or smaller acts. Where we really see like the huge gap right now is between these like medium to higher tier artists. And we really feel like their options kind of right now for a fan club like experience are a simple newsletter, which is not very engaging with their fans, or it's creating a completely customized built app that's costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we really feel like there needs to be an in-between there of giving artists a zero startup cost way to really create this fan club. And it will help them grow out their fan base, but it really is for those artists who already have a pretty substantial following.
What do you consider a pretty substantial following?
We're kind of like as our lowest level right now, talking to like people with Instagram followers around 100K.
Are the tools in place for them once they have 100K to be able to increase that incrementally? I mean, what's realistic? Can they double it? Can they triple it? What are we looking at?
I honestly think that kind of back to what I was saying about this whole untapped portion of the fans, we're really making it able so you can create campaigns with your fans on the platform. So
is it an education process though? I mean,
it is definitely a little hand holding with them. So it's kind of,
and let me ask you, whose hand are you holding? Is it the artist or is it the fan or is it both?
It's a lot more, I would say, of the manager, actually.
Okay.
We definitely see that artists and their teams are knowing that they have to do something more in this time, and they just don't know how or what to do.
What to do, yeah.
And so we're really kind of helping hold their hand through this process of being like, hey, here's like statistically works really well with fan bases. Like one instance is Cardi B created this exclusive content and a video of her being like authentic, just, selfie mode, did twice as well as a fully edited video from behind the scenes of like a video shoot. And so learning how to almost like coach them to how to better engage with their fans is also something we're kind of doing behind the scenes with the artist.
When you talk about engaging with your fans, what does that entail? What are you looking at other than the artist showing up at the fan's house, knocking on the door and going, hey, I'm here? What is that engagement? Even though we're talking virtual, we're talking digital, it still is to a certain extent, I don't want to say one-on-one, but it has to get personalized, doesn't it?
It's very interesting because I feel like they were learning this along the way, where I always thought it had to be very much a more intimate crowd, whether it's one-on-one or a smaller group. And I think a really good example that kind of proved me wrong in this standpoint was when we did the Jonas Brothers fan activation in September, I think right out a year ago. We've realized that fan engagement all comes down to an emotional bond that you have with that artist. So if you can create that at a larger scale, amazing. A lot of artists have not figured out how to do that.
Right.
And I think that was what really made us realize, like, okay, we're meant to do this, is when we did that Jonas Brothers fan activation. You can go back and like Nick Jonas posts about it on his Instagram and read the comments. And it was like, I'm so honored I got to be a part of this. Like every fan was commenting about how, it was the best concert of their life because like they felt a part of something. And I think it's figuring out how you can do that in so many different ways. And that's how you create this fan base of these super fans.
Is it a cookie cutter template or is it something that has to be, okay, so it works for the Jonas Brothers. Do you create the same plan for Kacey Musgraves or Dan and Shay or whoever it is, or are you having to really custom build something with every individual act? And if that's the case, how do you go about figuring that out?
This is, I feel like the question everyone answers because it's fun for us too to even see kind of like what we come up with next because every event is so different. We always say that with everything we create, if you saw a fan activation at the Jonas Brothers show and you saw one at Kacey Musgraves, it should not make sense if you're doing the same activation at another artist show. So like everything we do, I don't want to say they're like inside jokes, but they're things that fan base gets and only that fan base gets. So with the Jonas Brothers, it was their reunion tour. Like they have a song called Come Back. And so we actually had signs made, 16,000, that said, thank you for coming back to us. And it said on the back, like had instructions for fans to hold up the sign during the song Come Back. And we were just like, this was the first really big project we'd done. So we were hoping like, okay, hopefully like a few hundred people hold it up. And then it was an arena full of these white signs with like the Jonas Brothers sobbing on stage.
So is this something that is handed out at the venue, or do they order it online, or how does that work?
So we handle everything on like the back end of it. So we actually come in, crazy enough, we run around the arena and put down these signs in every one of the seats beforehand.
Wow.
Yeah.
16,000.
Yep.
That's a lot. How many of you did that?
This is even crazier with the Jonas Brothers. It was 8 of us, and we pulled it off in an hour and a half.
Oh my gosh.
It's insane when you can see, like, it's just like unreal. Like, you don't even believe that it can be that big when it happens like that.
Yeah. And then with that being said, once again, maybe that works for the Jonas Brothers, but it doesn't work for another act. So I'm assuming you have a pretty deep pool of different ideas. Is it genre specific? I mean, we're talking about, whether it's pop or rock or jazz or hip hop or country music, Americana music. Is there certain things that designate to a certain genre, or can they cross-pollinate to a certain extent?
It really can be any genre. We definitely see that there are certain ideas that work better with different fan-based demographics. So like we wouldn't create like a completely fully digital, like complicated campaign with, like Aerosmith, like someone who has an older fan base. But if it's for like Shawn Mendes and their fans want to like dig around online, like that'd be a great campaign for them. So we do very much take into consideration the demographic of their fan base and, what do they already like? What are they involved in? And really create that custom campaign around that.
You've brought up something that touches on my level personally. And when you talk about someone like Aerosmith, it is an older demographic. Mm-hmm. It's my age group, thereabouts. Do we get it? Because obviously your demographic, your age group, you're used to all the digital world. Mm-hmm. There's still some of us that are trying to figure out smartphones.
Yeah.
Do you make it simplistic enough for the other generations to get it?
Yeah. So one thing I've loved my app development team for is they have done a great job of making it very user friendly. And our like second target demographic actually like for With the Band is this, what we call like the groupies, because surprisingly enough, fan clubs still do exist, but like the older and traditional model of it, where it's like you pay $40 a year, and that pretty much solely exists within like older rock bands. So like Aerosmith, Led Zeppelin, and then there's like some male country artists and, a few sprinkled here and there. But what we really wanted to do was create an easier way for them to really manage their fan bases. So we definitely see in the future adding on some of those older acts.
I'm going to take a step back because in the, I want to say late 80s, early 90s, and someone I'm sure will correct me, but we originally had Fanfare here in Nashville, Tennessee, which is now called CMA Music Fest. Yeah. And it's no longer just a country music festival. It's all genres of music that play at it. But back then it was based on the fan clubs of each of the artists. Yeah. And you're right, you would pay X number of dollars a year, and that would get you into different things. Mm-hmm. And they still do that to a certain extent. Now, obviously, we didn't have CMA Music Fest this
sad.
year. It was, and I'm not even sure we're going to have it next year. But with that being said, you would have the private parties, the listening parties you could go to, or get in the autograph line before anybody else could. Are those things that you can incorporate, or do you incorporate that in this?
Yeah, definitely. So we want to always be expanding our ideas that we are bringing towards artists and the benefits that they can offer their fans. And I love that you brought up Fanfare, because I actually interned at CMA forever ago, still like contract out with them for a ton of their events. Absolutely love it. And I'm weirdly obsessed with all of the older Fanfare stuff. Like I love looking at the old like 70s merch from it. And I think they're such a great example of how you do create like that community among a fan base. And, it has definitely changed into something different now, but there's some artists who are still doing it really well. Like I know Lauren Elena has like a special fan club party. And so like just making it easier for them and like for all different acts to be able to do that, I feel like is what we're really trying to create.
We're going to take another break, get another word in for another one of our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to continue to have a conversation with Sarah Beth Perry, who is the founder and CEO of With the Band.
Hi, this is Jeremy Stevens with High Fidelity. You're listening to The Business Side of Music, the most listened to music industry podcast in some of the better parts of town.
some of the better parts of town. That is funny.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Hey, it's Chris SD from Sync Songwriter. Imagine what it would be like getting your music into the latest TV shows, movies, or ads. Your songs would not only get exposure in front of millions of viewers, you'd get paid to do it and gain a reputation as the songwriter that you are. I've been showing songwriters, composers, and artists how to get their music into TV and film for over 15 years. Collectively, they have generated hundreds of thousands of dollars from licensing their music. Their music has been on networks such as HBO, Bravo, ABC, NBC, Netflix, and more. In films or trailers such as Predator, Annihilation, Christmas Chronicles, Professor Mac, and many others. So many songwriters upload their music to websites hoping to get discovered. Unfortunately, this almost never happens with the millions of songs out there competing for attention. I show you how to get your music heard by the people who can actually make it happen for you. When you start getting your music licensed, you automatically develop a reputation in the industry. This lets you get syncs over and over again. If you'd like to discover how to connect with the right people in music licensing, just click the Sync Songwriter logo on the Business Side of Music webpage, and I'll see you there.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Sarah Beth Perry is sitting across the console from us today here in Nashville, Tennessee. She is the founder and CEO of With the Band. Now, we touched on it just a little bit. Let's talk about what you're getting ready to launch here. Let's go a little deeper into it, and that's Fan Cruise.
Yeah.
How is that coming along?
Yeah, we're honestly really excited about it. Each week we keep making updates from, different managers' feedback. And with every new thing we're adding, it's like, how did this not exist before?
And when you say, how did it not exist before, how did you come up with this idea? Now, you told me that you would go to shows. Let me ask you this. Were you a musician or just a lover of music?
Both. I feel like every kid, I was in the first generation to watch like American Idol when you were little, and like, always dreamed about being on American Idol, quickly realized that was not my gift in life. I don't know. I look back on this time of I was kind of in that last group of like fan club members with these like larger pop acts. Like I remember I was a part of the Jonas Brothers fan club when I was younger, which is crazy, like full circle moment now. Like I remember getting to I felt a part of their community. I felt, involved in that. I was like valued as a fan. And I think like that's what I'm really wanting to help artists like make their fans feel valued.
Yeah. And I think that's something else with what you're trying to accomplish is the fans feeling like they're getting a value out of this, especially from such a distanced environment.
Yeah.
I guess I can say distanced environment. But yeah, from such a distant environment now, because we're no longer having those intimate moments with the artist. And I've always said this going back to the 70s. When an artist goes in and does a photo shoot, don't do a photo shoot of just one outfit, one backdrop. Do something, that's 5, 10, 15, 20 different looks, because that's part of the intimacy that you're showing yourself to the fan. Mm-hmm. Is Fan Cruise, does that help with that intimate moment with the artist? And you mentioned the manager. So is this more management engineered, generated than it is the artist, or?
So it's honestly a mix of both. It's very much we partner with the artist and their team because we really want to make something that is customized and is going to work for their specific fan base. And so what we really do in the beginning is talk about like what do they want to offer their fans,
right?
And whether that is, it is interesting in this time of like not being able to offer in-person things, and even just thinking about like when we were creating the software, I read an article about how VIP is probably going to be forever changed. Like you can't imagine an artist team allowing their artist to be right next to a fan for, at least 2 years, if not longer than that.
Right.
And so it's like, how do you create a virtual experience of that? So like one of the things we're incorporating is like the ability to do virtual meet and greets. So whether that is, they're not having shows and they're wanting to just do that, or they already are going back to shows, but they can't do that in-person thing.
So how does the virtual meet and greet work?
It's simply kind of like if you were FaceTiming or Zooming your friend. It's very easy to use, and we basically set it up so the artist can choose like what time they want to do it, and the fans, get assigned a time slot.
How long is that time slot?
It's all customized for the artist.
Yeah.
So it's really up to the artist and their team on what they want to do.
Right. With the band and with fan crews, how does someone go about finding you, putting it all together? What are all the costs involved? All that good stuff.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm really excited about is I wanted to make this a zero startup cost for artists, because I believe that is what was not offered currently in the market.
So it's not fan revenue generated, it's artist revenue generated.
So we basically partner with the artist. So it does not cost the artist anything to create a fan crew. And then when a fan purchases a membership to this artist fan crew, the artist gets 75% of all of the revenue. And then there's like a Stripe credit card transaction fee, and then we take the rest. So to keep up the platform and to be able to host all these events for them.
How does the manager get a hold of you to put this together and find out what it entails and what's involved and what do they get out of it?
Totally. So I would just recommend that they visit our website. It's withtheband.co. There's a whole form for artist teams to fill out where we can really see like where you are as an artist kind of in your career. So we can help kind of give you customized advice to where you are.
The younger artist, the artist with less of a fan base under that 100K. Do you see something within your company that will eventually help them?
Yes, definitely in the future. I want it to be available for all size artists. We've definitely realized that kind of as our first few artists come in, we are wanting to do it to really just solidify the business model and figure out, okay, this works best. And then we can really open it up to a lot, even the top 40 artist or the lower artist. So then we can really help support each artist wherever they are in their career.
Right. Yeah, because that's important. We have to remember that those are where they are now. At some point started,
of course,
in a very small place.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you for being on the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This was fantastic.
The Business Side of Music is the creation of Tom Sabella and Tracy Snow and is produced by Bob Bender. The Business Side of Music is recorded at Music Dog Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Production sound design by Keith Stark. Voiceover and promo by Lisa Fuson.
Ooh. You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.